So this is next thing is called the Greyhawk Initiative, and Mike Mearls came out with this in 2017 after going to a convention and said, you can actually switch things up a little bit, not just based on dexterity, the D20 finding out what roll you make. You can actually determine based on what kind of action you're going to take on how fast you go. This is a little bit has to do with, I guess it's advanced D&D, probably second edition, where everyone rolled a D10 to determine how fast you went. The lower the number, the faster you were in the actual order of combat. I never played it like this. I tried playing this and it wasn't my thing, right? So, but I still would like to go through it just to show you the mechanics of it. I find it fascinating nonetheless. So this is on my page for D&D, right? So if you went, just click through, I didn't show you, right? This is my teaching page. I click on this thing, it's the Castlehedron. If you click on it and you scroll down, it says Extra, Greyhawk Initiative. So to get the real full write-up, you can click on this hyperlink and it'll take you to it. And it talks about everything you're supposed to do right here. It seems like simple instructions somewhat, but I actually like to use visuals in describing what's going on because it's easier to show what's happening. There's two ways you can get a segment order right here. I have a first segment, second, and last segment of battle here. And this actually is a PDF file too. You can click on it if you want to print it out, take a look at it. Like I said, it might work for if you have a group of, let's say, 3 characters. This may work pretty well, or maybe even one character, you're playing one-on-one. And then they're using different types of weapons, could change the speed. You could do that too. I find it to be, like I said, a little cumbersome if you have a bigger party. Doesn't seem to work. I've tried it. It's just didn't work for me. So that happens. But I still want to talk about it because I think it's actually a cool idea. So the idea behind this is different dice rolls are used based on what kind of action you're going to take. If you're going to do a ranged attack, use a D4. So basically, the smaller the number here, the quicker you're going to react. So if you actually, let's say, shoot arrow, first is a D4, second is 2 times that number, third is 3 if you get multiple attacks with an arrow. Movement is D6, and then a melee attack with weapon damage, no modifiers being the asterisk. So if you're going to, in the case, I'm going to run and then use my battle axe, I would use D6 with a D8 if battle axe does 1D8. And you roll them together, it's going to tell you where your things are going to happen. If you have a device, such as a scroll, staff, ring, or anything, or a cantrip, just roll D8, and that will determine what's going to happen. Actual casting a spell requires more time. I think this may be something I modified, actually. Yeah. Spell casting cannot be interrupted during the phase, but you have to think about the spells that are higher level are going to take more time to cast. So I said spell effect. So it takes twice as long for the spell to take effect if you're casting a higher level spell. So every spell level you cast a 3-level spell, a 3rd level spell, it's add the spell level times 2 to the casting number to figure out what's going to go on. For example, casting starts at D10, the spell is actually going to be released on D10 plus 8 for a 4th level spell. I put that in because it made sense, right? So here's the first round of battle. Ranger's going to shoot arrows. Right? He's going to roll a D4. He gets a 3. It says first arrow is at 3, a second arrow is at 6. The fighter's going to run up to the ogre and engage in battle with a battle axe. So fighter rolls a D6 for the movement and D8 for the melee. Her melee is a female fighter. Cool. So she rolls a 3 and a 5 respectively. So she moves on to 3 and attacks on segment 8. This is a lot to keep track of. That's probably why I probably didn't like this. The magic user casts a fireball, rolls a D10. It's a 3rd level spell. Rolls a 7 and on D10, and the 3rd level spell is 3 times 2, which means 6 for the actual release of the spell. So the magic user starts casting the segment 1 and cannot be interrupted until segment 7 or the spell is disruptive. The spell takes effect on segment 13. You got to get a chart for this, or it's not going to work. The ogre runs and smashes the club. Does 1d10 plus 1 worth of damage, but the ogre's slow. So DM adjusts the movement accordingly. So it's 1d6 plus 3 because of the movement for a total score 5. Adds the melee of 1d10, will score 6. So the ogre attacks on segment 11. 3 goblins are going to shoot. That's 1d4 for each one of those guys. They'll release 3 arrows at segments 4 and 3, and the arrow released at 3 and 8. So you just double them to find out when the next set of arrows are going to be flying. And 7 goblins, I just did this to make it easier on myself, are sitting and caught off guard from the attack. They're not going to be able to attack or react or engage in battle this round. I had to have something for the fireball to land on. Anyways, this is the layout. So I have a magic user, a ranger, and a fighter. And no movement actions are going to happen in the first 2 phases because of the numbers in which things happen. So if you scroll down, it says, if you look, I'm just going to pull down and see, because you have to kind of look at these two in conjunction. A ranger's going to attack his first arrow round 3. So 1 and 2, nothing's happening based on this chart. You have to chart everything, right? So then the ranger's going to shoot. Boom. He's going to hit one of the archers, and the fighter is going to move into melee. So he's going to run up to the ogre. That's what's happening. Okay. So then the next thing happens. All these things are going to have to occur accordingly. So the first range, the goblins are all going to release their arrows. How come I didn't have that written down there? That's pretty weird. Oh yeah, it is right here. Goblins range arrows attack arrow 1. So that's number 4. So we're segment 4. Boom, 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 boom. They're all going to fire upon it. At the ranger, 1 at there at the advancing fighter. So we got that taken care of, right? So now we're going to go to row 5. It says the ogre moves into melee. So he's going to lumber on up to the fighter, right? This is where things are going, right? And now we're into 6th. Ranger's going to drop his next arrow. He's taking out one of the archers, all right? And this is at segment 6. And once a melee, ranger cannot shoot at ogre without a 33% chance of the time hitting the fighter. But this is kind of weird once they engage. This is one of my house rules, I think. Some people, it's in there, but it depends on what system you're using, right? I say it's much easier to hit an ogre than a fighter, right? So we're in segment 6, right here. And now we're going to go to 7. So the magic user is going to start making a fireball. There it is. It's casting the fireball spell. So the casting is taking place on segment 7. Right? Number 8, goblins are going to hit their ranged attacks. Boom, boom, right? Magic users hit with an arrow, but the spell was already cast and cannot be disrupted. It's kind of a nice way of doing it. Fighter makes a melee attack and hits the ogre with the battle axe. So I'm following this is 8 down here, right? And then the next segment, you can see the fireball is now flying across the thing and it's moving towards this group of guys down here. So the ogre makes a melee attack and hits the fighter with this club. So there's battle going on. This is kind of a way of cinematically organizing what's happening all at the same time. So that's segment 11 down here. 12 is going to have nothing, and then 13 will have the fireball release. It kills all 6 goblins with a giant explosion, right? Nice. And now that's the end of the first round. Like I said, you have to have a chart and you have to pay attention. Like I said, this is a party of 3 guys doing it. And a lot of things going on. It depends on what you like to do. And I played it like this. I kind of enjoyed it, but I think people found it just cumbersome to mess with, you know. So the next second round of battle, right? Ranger's going to shoot arrows. Once again, fighter continues to attack the ogre with a battle axe. Magic user can cast magic missile, so he's going to roll a d10, and he scores a 5. Magic user is going to come off on segment 5, and it takes place in segment 5 as well, because it's a first level magic user spell, right? Actually, no, it's stored in the staff. Staff's automatically released. There's no casting time, okay? So ogre's going to smash with the club again. The 2 ogre archers are going to also fire, and the goblins with the spears are going to try to run and engage things. And so I'm going to have to flip back and forth between these 2 things as we go to make sure it makes sense, right? So it's their second battle, right? Segment 1. The ogre's going to make a melee attack and hits the fighter with the club, right? He was very lucky on his roll. So let's take a look here. So the ogre is going to attack in segment 1. He rolled a 1, so he gets to pound him, right? That's cool, right? So, and the second round, it says down here, goblins attack on the first with their first arrow. Goblin attacks a magic user, attacks a ranger. Magic user is hit with an arrow. The magic user is not killed. The spell is not disrupted because it is a staff spell. It's important to note, because sometimes you got to think about it. This stores spelled in an object such as a wand, ring, or a staff do not need a whole bunch of attention applied to them. They're just basically a trigger to make things happen. Okay. All right. And then the next one, the ranger hits a goblin but not before the arrow gets off to hit the magic user. The magic user is at 0 hit points. He can be healed, but must not be further hit in battle or he will die, right? So he's going to fire, he's going to fire. It's a back and forth here at this point. This guy, this is a goblin with a spear, comes over, and because he's coming to the side, I always consider a +2. It's a flanked attack, right? It's coming back on the side. So this is on segment 4. So I scroll down and here's segment 4, a little further. Ranged attack, all these things are put together. So the magic user's staff magic missile is going to go off next in number 5, right? See what happens. Right, because the magic user is down, no spell can be cast in the staff. Random missile being released from the staff. So this is something we must consider, right? Fighter's going to make a melee attack and hits the ogre with his battle axe. Ranger kills the last goblin with the ranged attack because he's firing. And the goblin attempts to hit the fighter, +2 for the charge, +4. Charging does double damage, but misses by rolling a 2 on a 1d20. So I kind of want to keep my fighter alive. Fighter was able to set against charge the spear. He would get a +4 attack and deal double damage as well, right? This is from Advanced Dungeons & Dragons style play. That's segment 8, all right? And there's only 8 attack segments this round because the system is flexible. It's going to flex and change, right? So that's the end of the second round of combat. So that third round, so the ranger's going to roll d6 for the movement, d6 for reaction, rolls a 3 and 6 respectively, therefore 9 for total action. The fighter's still in melee, so she's going to roll 1d8 for a battle axe, and she rolls a 2. Magic user's incapacitated, and the ogre smashes with the club, 1d10, rolls an 8, and the goblin with the spear is going to flank the fighter, 1d6, rolls a 5. Since he's still flanking the fighter, it gets a +2 on that attack. So let's see how this plays out. So, once again, fighter makes a melee attack and hits the ogre with the battle axe. Whack. Natural 20, I want to doing double damage. The ogre's head is actually lopped off. Yay, right? So that is this round right here. Fighter and melee attack. So the ranger is going to make its movement now towards the magic user, right? And obviously you're worried. Your glass cannon just fell, so you want to make sure you put that back together, right? And the next segment, this goblin fails a morale check and surrenders to the fighter. Right? So we're down all the way down to here. Goblin attacks. He's not going to do it once he sees the ogre go down. And the ogre's not going to get his move, and the ranger's going to drop a potion in the main. And it depends on how you play it. I believe you're down to 0. You can pour something in somebody's mouth and swish it around, right? So the battle's over. Ranger gives a healing potion to the magic user and heals for 1d8, bringing him back to life. So, it depends on how the game is played and how you adjudicate things as a dungeon master. This system does work. You cannot have a lot of players when using it. It gets really cumbersome. So that's the real big drawback. It's fun. It's, how would you say, a little more dynamic. So you can change, you say, I'm just going to do ranged attacks because they get off first. You can do your own versions of these things. It's fun to play, but like many things, it's just, I tend not to use this because the players that I have, like middle school kids and some high school kids, it's just too much for them to do. I'll be honest with you, unless they're really, really into the game. This becomes cumbersome mechanics and they can't deal with it. So that's sorts of wizardry using the Greyhawk initiative. You could use it for 5e. I tried it with 5e. I like I said, once again, even with my adult players, they just didn't like it. They said, why are you doing this? That's the first thing they say. Why'd you do this? I see you put a lot of time into explaining it, but why do this? That's always their thing. With that, Internet, I hope you have a wonderful day.